We have a very special guest in studio here. I'm very excited about this. The great and powerful Hakeem McFarland.
Hey,
welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate
thanks
it.
for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for what you do.
Well, thank you, man. Well, first let's just kind of start off. If you could just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm from Manhattan, born and raised in Minneapolis. Moved to Manhattan 3 years ago, or as I like to say, from the mini apple to the big apple.
Okay.
Now I just started a Choose Yourself movement about 2 years ago to help people embrace their authenticity and independence, and then identify their gift and contribute back to humanity, which is what I believe we are truly created to do. But I started as partnering with my uncle in the spirits industry. So I went from selling spirits to lifting spirits. And in that transition, I developed a mindset, the Choose Yourself mindset, which is a balanced lifestyle, because life is not about being a tight ass. You got to have fun. You have to celebrate your hard work, and the work ain't as hard when you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a book coming out, Choose Yourself to be Chosen. It's a workbook. I also have a podcast as well, where we provide perspective and resources for personal development and discovery. I do retreats. I travel around and speak about the Choose Yourself movement to whoever want to hear it. Because like you said, it can get lonely choosing yourself. I also have the gut repair solution. I'm big on gut health because the gut and the mind were combined when we developed in the womb till it was separated by your spine. That's why people call it the second brain, but I call it the first brain. Because if you eat like shit, you feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So between those things, man, embracing the balance, providing resources for growth and resources for celebration, and I'll be there for both of them.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Well, and what was that pivotal moment that made you realize you had to choose yourself and take full ownership of it?
Yeah, man. I went through plenty of breaking points. I mean, I think some of us go through one breaking point and we're finally done dealing with our own shit. Sometimes it takes the creator to knock on the door several times. Sometimes you got to lose your health. Sometimes you got to lose your business. Some people lose a limb, shit. But eventually, we got to be done dealing with our own shit and put the victim's mentality down. Embrace, accept, research, reflect, and reapply. That's how you GYM, and that's grow your mind within a size. So it took me, when I was 16, I lost my little brother, he was 6, to leukemia and short gut syndrome. And what that did to my family and what that did to my mindset towards the medical industry and big pharma and what they try to do with kids with cancer and all that. I buried all those emotions under sports, friends, and school for 2 years. And when I started partying, those emotions came out, and I turned into an angry version of the version that was hurt. So the way that I expressed my hurt and my grief was anger. So after high school, I went D1 full ride, ran from that.
What sport?
Football. Went to NDSU. D1 full ride, ran from that. And then I went D2, first play, first game, tore my ACL, sat out for a year, had 3 more surgeries, started messing around in the streets, went back home to mom, got into this huge fight at security where I realized, this ain't for me. That shit hurt. My face hurts, my knuckles hurt, my liver hurts. I need to get back on the field. So I'm 19, went to my 3rd school. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm coming back up, man, coming back out the dark place, played for 4 years, got All-American. And when I was at Winona, I had punched a guy in the face, broke his tooth, which is, I guess, 1st degree assault. So when I was 19, I got 20 years probation, 1st degree assault.
20 years?
And 86 months over my head.
What?
My first crime ever.
For punching somebody?
I was on crutches.
Jeez.
You were on crutches and you punched somebody?
At my birthday party at the football house, and some random dude was like, I'm coming in. I'm like, no, you're not. He kept walking in. I was just like, pop, real quick. And he just ran. And that was a whole fight. And so that whole year I was kicked out of that school. I was doing security, going back and forth every month, going to court. Am I going to jail? Am I going to prison? Am I going to jail? Am I going to prison? They just gave me probation. And one of the requirements was to stay in school. So that was another kind of
pivotal moment
was to go back to school. But I still hadn't dealt with the grief of my brother. I had still went football, streets, partying, fighting, back to football, back to school. And then I tried to go to the NFL, but my PO said you can't leave the county. So I couldn't go play arena. I made the team, went to a tryout, made the team, but I couldn't leave the county. So then that was another breaking point. Went back to the streets. what do I do every time? I go back to the streets where it's comfortable and you can numb yourself.
They fall back into the patterns.
Then I got into a fight I couldn't walk away from. Got locked up 8 months, numb my pain the whole time with all the stuff that was floating around inside. Got out of jail. 30 days later, got a D-dub, went back for 8 months. In that second 8 months, that's all the shit that I was victim's mentality. Oh my God, my brother, NDSU, that's fucked up, I got a felony. My brother died, hospital, my dad wasn't around. Oh my God, And then eventually I had to sit in that cell by myself for 8 days because somebody died in the jail. And I didn't have a book, a notepad, a pen, no food, no nothing.
You're stuck with yourself.
Right there. So the first day I went through withdrawals. The second day I was blaming, complaining. The third day I'm
withdrawals from drugs.
Yeah, pills, fucking partying, man. I used to be up for days, man. Like I don't even know. I love sleep now. Yeah. Shit, that's why I say it's so important to not numb yourself and be independent because I went through it. You know, I know how much it keeps you from dealing with the shame, the trauma, and you know what's actually beneath the life you're trying to create externally. And so, you know, sat up in there by day 4, I was like, ain't no touchdowns, ain't no girls, ain't no friends, ain't no drugs, ain't no nothing. What you gonna do? And every time I went to jail, I'm like, please, God, let me out. And then when I get out, I'm like, smoke that weed, fuck them bitches, hit them drugs. Every time, except for this time. This time I didn't get out. So I had to sit in that. And I was like, all right. So I read The Secret, the book The Secret.
Yep.
And that's what, because I was so hesitant to believe in Jesus. One, my mom thanked Jesus for everything, and I didn't get it.
Mm.
Thank you for the parking spot. Thank you for this house. Thank you for this. I'm like, didn't you work for this? My brother died. I'm like, what kind of Jesus takes away a kid? I got felony probation. I'm like, what kind of Jesus puts this on a kid? Not understanding. By this time, it was like when I read The Secret, and it was about the attraction and the higher self. And it all comes from within, an understanding of yourself. And I was like, all right, all my choices got me here. I'm going to choose myself and get up out of here. So 18 months I stayed sober after that and really honed in on personal development, partnered with my uncle. Personal development spilled into my sales, started crushing it in sales around the market. We had top.
What kind of sales?
Agave spirits. So liquor sales. I was a liquor rep.
Okay.
But I was driving around in a hoopty, no AC. We ain't had no. I was living in the basement with my homeboys and shit. Unfinished basement. It had a beehive in it.
But you know, you look at some of the greatest starts in of businesses and companies and stories, and it all starts from something like that.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah. No, they definitely had spiders and rats too. Because one time there was a cricket. And I killed it. I cut it in half. And I went upstairs to get a paper towel. I came back down and it was gone. I was like, oh shit, we got bees, crickets. I'm in the jungle.
You just served it up for him.
Like, cut them up. Another cricket came or something. But driving in that hoopty, man, and just driving in the beater, putting my polo on the seat, parking down the block.
Now, are you in Manhattan at this time?
No, this is Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yep. So 2018, I started with my uncle. 2021, I moved to Manhattan.
So what brought you to Manhattan?
Was brand expansion.
Okay.
So then we crushed it, went out there and
with the agave spirits.
With the liquor. Just that was my focus when I went out there, straight liquor company.
Okay.
I get out there and all of a sudden my uncle's like, damn, we got to shut down and restructure. I was like, what the? So I just sold my nicest couch, my nicest car, my nicest freaking everything I ever had coming out of that, go to New York, and then income just stripped. That was the first time really losing my income like that, my whole salary, like overnight. And so I just leaned into my foundation. I leaned into choose yourself, my content. And as I started doing this motivational content, these words and slogans would come up in the mornings when I was speaking. I wouldn't intentionally say them, but while I was saying it, the feedback I got and the feeling I got would make me, realize I need to keep this. And
yeah, because your posts are like poetry. Like the way some of the ones that I was seeing was just like kind of like rap, but slowed down in a poetry type of way that you would see at like going to a poetry reading. It's very inspirational.
Oh, it's so fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, man. No, I tried.
It's engaging, very engaging.
And that's the thing. Like how many ways can I provide a perspective to someone to finally trigger them to choose themselves? And everybody has to get to that trigger point. And, a lot of us had a lot of breaking points before the trigger point. My trigger point was that 8th time in jail. I finally was like, all right, cool. But being able to provide something that has a flow, it has rhymes, and like the words go with it, and the music, like that's multiple sensory input. So hopefully it clicks on multiple levels, and that's the intention, man. I love doing it too. Like I wake up and I just love doing it. I wake up, I'm like, oh, I should talk about accountability today. Out of nowhere, it just comes to me. I wake up, brush my teeth, cold shower, I get out, I'm like, relationships, some reason. So some people say that's from source. Some people say that's your feminine energy being in the being and the creative. Some people say that's your subconscious speaking. Some people say that's a way of healing. Some people say, as many times as I've explained this, people have a bunch of different definitions, and I think it's all true.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, like you said, multiple truths.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So you faced addiction, grief, legal troubles. What's the biggest misconception you think people have about personal development?
That you have to seek external. I think you think you need a coach. You think you need some ayahuasca trip. You think you need a book. You think you need a bunch of money. You think you need someone to hold your hand. That's not personal development. That's a start, but eventually your confidence and your evolution comes from what you do for yourself when you're by yourself. If you can never make the same actions for yourself when you're by yourself that when you need someone around to do those things for yourself, that's still a form of dependency. If you can't wake up on time, if you can't eat balanced, if you can't budget on your own, if you can't, talk about your emotions, if you can't exercise consistently, if you can't talk nice to yourself, you can't stay off the scrolling, stay off the porn, stay off the dating apps. Those are things that your true character are attached to. So when you get under pressure, excitement, love, or stress, that's what comes out, your inability to stay focused on your intention. And now, if your intention is to be an upstanding guy in public, but you get under one of those 4 circumstances, your true character comes out. You neglected your intention. Now, you want to be intentional in this situation, but you can't. Because when you're by yourself, you don't. So the solitude is really what boosts the development, I think, at a faster rate, but it's the toughest thing to do. I was forced to do it, but that's how I realized it, and I never wanted to be in solitude. 7 years. I always had somebody. I had a girlfriend all the time. Was never single longer than 5 months from age. From when my brother died until 30. Never. I had about 6 different girlfriends. All great women. I was the dickhead. But it was great. But they gone now. I hope they're happy. What's up, y'all?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you talk about a lot of authenticity and things like that. So how do you define authenticity, and why do so many people struggle to embrace that?
I think it's our conditioning. We're born authentic, and then we're told our name, our language, our house, to do, where to sit, how long you can work. Don't work with each other. What the hell? That's what we're taught. Don't work with each other. Keep your eyes on your own paper. There's only one right answer. All these things that we're conditioned to think. So now we try to live this life that we're developing a character instead of our character, and it's creating all this friction because you want to be one person, but because I'm here in this environment, I have to be. Well, my mom said I have to represent my family because, well, I'm black and they're white. I'm a girl and she's a. What if you can find a way in your solitude to identify your traits, implement the systems to acquire the traits to allow you to present your full self, your pure self, and when you do that, you increase your confidence so you can actually take that risk and be like, if they don't like me, fuck it. But some people can't even say fuck it. They don't want to lose somebody. They don't want to lose a job opportunity. I don't want to lose my ex. I don't want my kids to be mad. So we try to shift ourselves and mold ourselves for the feelings of others, when in actuality, when you are exactly what makes you happy, you inspire others to do the same. And so I've had plenty of people in the Choose Yourself community, a lot of parents, some teachers, some coaches, when they started taking that time before and after their sleep, I call it the foundation, their kids would notice their difference in how they act. Their students would notice the difference in how they act, their coworkers, and they didn't even know they were changing. But they would get feedback from others like, what have you been doing lately? Shit, choosing myself. Choosing yourself. That is the time between yesterday and tomorrow. If you don't check in with yourself, that's why you're still mad about shit from last week. You haven't even checked in with yourself. You go from scrolling, you go school, you go work, family, scrolling, binge eat, binge watch, skip your bedtime, sleep, wake up late, then you don't do nothing for yourself and you're back on your phone.
Yeah.
So
we never spend time with ourselves.
And that's you're running from the authenticity. You skipped it. Now,
are you a parent?
No. That's one thing not yet, man.
Gotcha.
I don't even got a plan.
Well, that's the thing. So, both of us are fathers, 2 boys. We each have 2 boys. And like, that's one of the things that we're learning now is let them be bored. That's like one of the greatest things that I've learned as a father is let them be bored. Don't give them the screens. Don't give them anything like, hey, we're stuck. You know what? We're just going to sit in the house. Cables, TVs, everything's shut off. Be bored. Learn. Then I feel like that's kind of a way for them to kind of learn from a young age to choose themselves or be able to sit with themselves and kind of see where they're at. But obviously there's some guidance that goes along with it. But yeah, that was like one of the things that him and I have kind of done with our kids is just let them be bored.
Yeah.
It's good for them to be bored. So
nice, man. Now, I mean, I'm gonna have kids one day, and I don't know. Every time I've talked to somebody, like, your life's gonna change. You're gonna change, and I'm like, I understand. I get that. I never seen my dad never did that in front of me or nothing like that. But the screens and the opinions of others and the toxins, those 3 things for kids and for adults are what's stopping us from being able to maintain an optimum health. Is those 3 things, real majority.
Well, you talk about mindful consumption across the 5 senses. Break that down for us.
Yeah, man. You got to filter your senses. Like, we'll filter a joint, we'll filter the coffee, we'll filter the water, we'll filter our face on Instagram, but you won't filter your feed. You just got big booty girls and fights and guns all on your feed, wondering why you got a boner at noon. What are you letting penetrate your mind? If you got somebody talking all this shit on the news that's skewed, what other way do you think your subconscious mind is going to make you think? If you got your music talking about shoot 'em up, rah, rah, ha, ha, what are you going to think when you see somebody with their purse open? The same shit you was listening to when Lil Poop was talking shit.
Yeah.
So it's not
Poop.
Lil Poop was talking shit.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And it's not just about what you eat, what you drink, what you smoke. It's what you're watching.
Consume. Any sort of consumption.
5 senses. Who you touching, how your crib smells, how your armpits smell, how your room smell, how's it look, what are you saying to yourself, to others? How's your breath? Because your breath is the first part of your gut. Goes from your mouth to your butt. That's why some people's mouth smell like their butt. Because they don't take care of their gut. It goes right from the butt to the gut to the mouth, and I be smelling that shit. I'm like, how don't you smell it? It's right by your nose. Damn. But it's about, what you're watching, the group chat you're in, the podcast. So what I did is I stripped down of all that, all my party friends. I filter my feed. It's all motivation now and education, inspiration. And I stopped buying snacks at the store. I changed my music. Now it's just, J. Cole, Kendrick, Wayne, Drake. I didn't go, the new era is just too much. People my age, they're talking about something. Dreams, aspirations, competition, stuff that I can relate to. So it's like, are the things you're consuming in alignment with who you want to be? And a lot of people say that. That's like the root of all personal development. Do the things that are in alignment with the person you want to be. The distractions usually come from our consumption and get us distracted.
Well, so speaking of that, so what's the first step someone should take when feeling stuck?
Well, it depends. But your nighttime routine and your morning routine. If you can take 30 minutes before sleep, plug your phone in the other room. In 30 minutes or an hour after you wake up, to not touch your phone and really do things for yourself. Before you go to sleep, we'll do like a mini foundation. Plug your phone in, sit down, write 3 things you're grateful for, 3 positive reflections of the day. Meditate for 5 minutes, stretch or breath work, whichever one you want to do, and then read in bed. That's 30 minutes. You already about to go to sleep at 9:30. You don't want to take 30 minutes and sit with yourself. You rather just skip that part and try to go to sleep naturally after you've just been stressing all day. So decompress, process your thoughts, and boost your gratitude by writing down things you're grateful for, because the mind will always focus on fear and comfort to keep us safe. So that's what the main focus is going to be, unless you force yourself to go deeper and write it down. And then when you wake up, don't hit the snooze button. Don't snooze yourself. You got to choose yourself. Because that snooze button was what you said you would do the night before. That's what's connecting your intention yesterday to today. So if you're going to wake up and the first thing you do is skip your commitment to yourself, subconscious like, emotional day for me. I told them it's comfortable. It's cold. And he hit the snooze. Perfect. I'm going to tell him skip the shower. I'm going to tell him get on his phone. I'm going to tell him eat some bullshit. I'm going to tell him snap at his wife. I'm going to tell him get pissed off at his kids. I'm going to tell him get mad in traffic. And he's going to listen to me all day, comfortable, that annoying roommate. All day. But if the snooze, you're like, I don't want to get in bed. I'm up. Fuck. You beat it once. Cold shower. You beat it twice.
Momentum.
You brush your teeth for the whole time instead of skipping. Like, oh, my arm's tired. I'm nodding off. Do the whole fucking thing. I know I ain't not the only one.
Yeah.
And once I got a timer on my toothbrush,
Yeah.
I figured out I was shorting myself.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
You know? And so you do those things, and then you get back into your intention. You reflect. So you connect your reflection of yesterday to the morning. You read those 3 things, and then you write your intention for the day, whatever that is. You can either go through your whole day and write the tasks out and write maybe one trait you want to be during that meeting. You got a meeting, you got to commute, you have gym, you have all these things, or you can just write down 3 things that you're grateful for again. And then you want to do something for the mind, body, spirit. Mind, like read, meditate. Body, stretch, exercise. Spirit, pray, gratitude. And you do those around your sleep. Now, this is the golden nugget for life. Now, no matter how good or bad your life gets, you go to your foundation. You got a promotion, you're on vacation, foundation. You lose your job, you lose your mom, foundation. You can't repair your roof in the rain. You're going to wait till it rains and try to repair your roof. You're going to slip and bust your shit. When it's 75 and sunny and you're like, oh, I feel great today, foundation. Because that's the preparation it takes for you to be prepared for adversity so you can remember who the fuck you are when shit goes down. But if you never revisit who you are, then the emotions and habits and your limiting beliefs and your ego are going to make you do something you ain't want to do. And that's typically what happens. You know, people skip themselves.
Yeah, it sounds a lot. Have you read the book, The 5 a.m. Club?
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of that sounds like similar to what they talk about in the 5 a.m. Club. Yeah, that's a great book that we've read. We do a book club and a book that we did together and discussed, and that's things that we've implemented now. 5 a.m. is a little early for me, but 6:30, 7 o'clock is when I do my 5 a.m. stuff that the book talks about. Similar stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just attach it to your sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep, self.
Yep.
Self, sleep, self. I don't care if you work overnights. You can go to sleep at 10 a.m. Wake up at 3 p.m., self. 9:30 a.m., self. 3 p.m., self. And then people, world. Because let's be real. Once we get outside of going to sleep and waking up, we're all consumed with all kind of things. All kind of things. What should we do? Where's my friend? Where's my wife? How should I? Am I going to be single my whole life? Am I going to be rich? All these things, which, those aren't bad thoughts.
No.
But if you know who you are, it's a lot easier to handle them.
Well, with the grief that you've probably felt with your brother dying, with all the legal trouble, how do you think grief has shaped your life?
Gratitude, man. It shifted it to gratitude. And I think that's the best way to process grief.
Yeah.
And it's like at first it was, I can't believe it. How can this happen? What kind of God? What kind of creator? What kind of bullshit? But then you realize that all comes from an attachment and an expectation. So if we have feelings about something, it's our fault because we expected otherwise. Whether good or bad, a miracle or failure, it's just outside of the expectation. If a miracle happened and you expected it, you wouldn't think it was a miracle. You'd be like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. But if you expected otherwise, then you think it was a miracle. So everybody's different. Somebody can be in the same coffee shop. One person depressed, one person joyful, same space and time, just the mind is a difference. So after doing the reflection and the deep work and the solitude work, I realized everything that has happened has shaped me to this. But until you start to shape, and this is the part where it gets lonely, until you start to do the reflecting, the end results don't seem like they're going to benefit you. It's all about what I wanted and what I expected and what I thought would happen. And, oh, woe was me and victim's mentality. This is the trigger point. Then you're like, oh, okay, so I got positivity and, gratitude for my brother. I got solitude from being locked up, and I got sober. Not sober no more completely, but I found my balance,
Yeah.
from that. And, I found out what not to do as a dad from my dad. So these are things that I take now into my life. But if you continue to look at the negative of the grieving, it's going to be with you forever. You're going to stay connected to it. You'll never be able to accept it and correct it if you don't process the positive parts of it. So, the grief is what helped you grow.
Yeah, you gotta learn from that.
You gotta lose and learn, or learn, not lose, just learn.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds you're talking a lot about too, learning about emotions and controlling your emotions and understanding your emotions. What do you think's more important, EQ or IQ?
EQ. I think EQ gets you IQ.
That's exactly what I say.
Yeah, I think EQ gets you IQ because how are you gonna be able to persevere through anything if you freak out every time you get something wrong?
Yeah. I always say, I know people that have a high IQ with a low EQ, but there's not a single person that I met that has a high EQ and a low IQ.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's either, man. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think in all things you do in business, personal, everything, if you learn to control and understand your emotions, you're heads and tails ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
So
and everybody has bad feelings or bad moments, but don't make it a bad day. How long does it last? How fast can you get over it and get after it? Your emotions are like the clouds, and the clouds gonna come and go. But the clouds provide shade in the rain, and you ask for flowers. So you're gonna wait for the storm to prepare your roof. You prepare your roof. You learn to dance in the rain. Clouds come and go. They pass. You get your flowers. But if you freak out, screwed.